Step back in time with me to the year 1902, deep in the heart of the Yoruba lands. The air was thick with the scent of red earth after a rainfall, and the sounds of the village were a symphony of life. But beneath this vibrant surface, shadows danced, and ancient powers stirred. In this world lived a man whose name was spoken in hushed tones, a name that carried the weight of both respect and fear, Ogunbiye. He wasn't just any hunter. Ogunbiye was a force of nature. His shoulders were broad like the iroko tree, and his eyes held the keen focus of an eagle. He could track a leopard for days without rest, his feet silent on the forest floor. The villagers celebrated him as a great warrior, a protector who stood between them and the dangers of the wild. But Ogunbiye's strength didn't come from his muscles alone. He walked a path few dared to tread, a path deep into the world of voodoo and ancient magic. His hut was a place of mystery. Carved gourds filled with potent herbs hung from the rafters, and strange symbols were drawn in chalk on the floor. Ogunbiye conversed with spirits. He sought knowledge from the unseen, and he wore amulets that pulsed with a power older than the village itself. This connection gave him an edge, allowing him to achieve feats that other hunters could only dream of. He was untouchable, or so it seemed. But power always attracts challenges. In the darkest corners of the village, under the light of the new moon, a different kind of power gathered. The witches of the land, the Aje, watched Ogunbiye with envious eyes. They saw his strength not as a gift for the community, but as a threat to their own influence. They whispered his name in their incantations, their jealousy curdling into a potent, dark malice. The conflict began subtly. A prize kill of Ogunbiye's would spoil overnight. His traps, once infallible, would be found sprung and empty. He knew this wasn't the work of ordinary animals. It was a message, a challenge from the Aje. Ogunbiye, never one to back down, didn't cower. He fortified his home with stronger wards and performed his own rituals, sending a clear message back to the shadows. He was not afraid. This was his first mistake. He underestimated their wickedness. The witches, angered by his defiance, decided to strike where it would hurt him most. One evening, as the sun bled orange and purple across the sky, a strange illness fell upon his youngest son, Ad. The boy, once full of life, grew weak, his laughter replaced by a feverish whisper. The village healers were powerless. Their herbs and remedies did nothing. Ogunbiye, his heart tight with panic, knew this was their doing. He plunged deeper into his voodoo, seeking a cure, a way to fight back. He consulted the oracles, made offerings to the orishas, and stayed awake for days, chanting and drawing power from the earth. The air in his hut crackled with energy as he prepared for a confrontation that was no longer about pride, but about his son's life. He journeyed to the edge of the cursed forest, a place where even the bravest villagers dared not go. There, he called them out, his voice booming through the twisted trees. "Show yourselves, cowards! Face me if you dare!" The air grew cold, and from the shadows they emerged, not as old crones, but as ethereal figures of smoke and whispers, their eyes glowing with malevolent light. The battle that ensued was not one of swords or spears. It was a war of wills, of incantations and spiritual energy. Ogunbiye unleashed the power he had gathered, protective symbols flaring to life around him, pushing back the darkness. The witches countered with curses that felt like ice in his veins, visions of failure and despair flooding his mind. They showed him images of his son fading away, trying to break his spirit. But the love for his child fueled a fire in Ogunbiye that their dark magic couldn't quench. He pushed through the pain, through the fear, and with a final desperate roar, he unleashed a powerful incantation passed down from his ancestors, a sacred verse meant to bind evil. The light from his charm erupted, forcing the witches to retreat, their shadowy forms dissolving back into the forest with shrieks of rage. He rushed back to the village, his body bruised and his spirit weary, but his heart full of hope. He found his son, Ade, sitting up, his evil gone, a small smile on his face. The village celebrated Ogunbiyi as a hero who had faced down the ultimate evil and won. For a time there was peace. Ogunbiyi had won the battle, but he had no idea the war was just beginning, and the tragic price of his victory was yet to be paid. The witches were not defeated, only angered. They knew a direct assault was futile, so they chose a more insidious path: deception. One of the Age, a powerful sorceress named Moremi, transformed herself into a beautiful young woman from a distant village. She arrived with a story of escaping a cruel family, her eyes full of feigned innocence and vulnerability. The villagers, kind-hearted as they were, took her in. Ogunbiyi, seeing her beauty and hearing her sad tale, felt a stirring in his heart he hadn't felt in a long time. His wife had passed years ago, and he had dedicated himself to his children and his craft. He was captivated, blind to the serpent he was welcoming into his home. She played her part perfectly. She learned his routines, the names of his children, and the secrets of his strength. She was patient. Weeks turned into months. The village adored her, and Ogunbiyi, against his better judgment, fell in love. He married her in a grand ceremony, believing he had finally found happiness again. This was their true victory. The tragedy began to unfold slowly, like a poisonous flower blooming. One day, his eldest daughter, Folad, went to the river to fetch water and never returned. A search party found only her water pot, shattered by the riverbank. Ogunbiyi was devastated, but Moremi comforted him, her tears seeming as real as his own. She whispered that it was perhaps a rogue crocodile, a tragic accident. He wanted to believe her. Then, his hunting prowess began to fail him. Animals he could once track for miles vanished without a trace. His arrows would miss their mark. The villagers began to whisper. His confidence, once his greatest weapon, began to erode, chipped away by doubt and grief. All the while, Moremi was by his side, a supportive wife to the world. The final, most devastating blow came one night during a terrible storm. As lightning split the sky, a fire broke out in the village. It started in Ogunbiyi's barn, where he stored his hunting tools and sacred artifacts. The flames spread with unnatural speed. Ogunbiyi rushed to save his family, but in the chaos, he was separated from his son, Ade, the very son he had saved from the witches before. By the time the fire was put out, the barn was ashes, and Ade was gone. Grief consumed Ogunbiyi. He had lost both his children. His reputation was in tatters. The hero was now a broken man, haunted by loss. It was in this moment of utter despair that Moremi chose to reveal herself. She stood before him, her beautiful face twisting into a cruel, triumphant sneer. Her form flickered, and for a moment he saw the same malevolent glow in her eyes he had seen in the cursed forest. "Your children are not gone," she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "They are with us, a payment for your arrogance. Your strength is gone. Your spirit is broken. You are nothing." The realization hit him like a physical blow. The woman he loved, the mother to his lost children, was his greatest enemy. He had been tricked, played, and utterly destroyed from the inside out. Rage, pure and primal, surged through him, a fire far hotter than the one that took his barn. But what could he do? He was weakened, his artifacts destroyed, his spirit crushed. But Moremi and the Age had made one final, fatal miscalculation. They had broken the man, but in doing so, they had unleashed the beast. Ogunbiyi was no longer a protector or a hero. All the light within him had been extinguished, replaced by a singular, burning desire for revenge. He didn't care about the village anymore. He didn't care about honor. All he wanted was to make them pay. He left the village that very night, walking away from the ashes of his life. He journeyed back into the wild, but not as a hunter of animals, He became a hunter of the dark. He shed the last of his humanity, embracing the most dangerous and forbidden forms of voodoo he had once shied away from. He made pacts with vengeful spirits, tattooed his skin with symbols of death and retribution, and transformed himself into something terrifying. The hunter became the monster. His name, once spoken with respect, was now a curse on the lips of those who dared to utter it. Legends began to spread of a phantom in the woods, a warrior wreathed in dark energy who hunted witches without mercy. He was relentless, brutal, and unstoppable. He was no longer Ogunbiyi, the father and hero. He was now known only as the Scourge of the Aje, the most wicked hunter the Yoruba lands had ever known. His quest for vengeance had just begun, and he would drown the entire land in darkness to get it. Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you were captivated by the tale of Ogunbiyi, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic stories from history and myth. Let me know in the comments what you think. Was Ogunbiyi a hero or a villain in the end? Follow for more.